Welcome to Speak for Yourself. I am Jason Whitlock. Marcellus Wiley is off today. Coming up, I'll tell you why I'm worried about my Chiefs and why Tom Izzo did nothing wrong last night. But we begin with Big Ben Roethlisberger. According to the local media in Pittsburgh, there's a plot to destroy Ben Roethlisberger, and those of us in the national media are the executioners hired by Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. This morning, a writer for Penn Live published a piece outlining, and I quote, the plot to destroy Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The article states that analysts at the NFL Network, ESPN, and right here at FS1 have been fed falsehoods, exaggerations, and negative information about Roethlisberger by Brown and Bell because Brown and Bell are upset the Steelers wouldn't pay them what they demanded. The writer seemed particularly upset by former Pittsburgh running back Josh Harris's tweet about Ben fumbling on purpose. The article whined, one recent story jawboned about long and hard on ESPN and FS1 had Big Ben fumbling the football on purpose because he supposedly didn't like the play call. Are we supposed to ignore that accusation by a former Steelers player who was on the field during the play? Are we supposed to ignore the video evidence? Are we not supposed to jawbone about a two-time Super Bowl winner fumbling on purpose because he's in a prolonged feud with his offensive coordinator? The Pittsburgh media are circling their wagons around the high-profile quarterback they have to cover daily for the next 2 to 4 years. I get it. Bell and Brown are gone. They're no longer Pittsburgh's problem. But putting on Big Ben blinders, that's foolish. As I said yesterday, this is a Three Stooges situation. Bell and Brown are Moe and Larry. Ben is Curly. Anyone pretending Ben hasn't been a big part of Pittsburgh's dysfunction is lying to themselves and their audience. And perhaps the reason Moe and Larry are airing Curly out is because Pittsburgh media, head coach Mike Tomlin, and the Steelers front office have been reluctant to hold Ben accountable. No question Brown and Bell have financial envy directed at Roethlisberger. Ben is a month or two away from one more giant contract extension. The Steelers played hardball with Le'Veon and AB, and the organization plays softball with Ben. But those are the realities of football. Financial envy and contract negotiations are at the root of 99% of leaked negative information. Bell and Brown are crudely playing the game that has been played on them throughout their careers. They're working the media to achieve their goals. Roethlisberger and the Steelers do the exact same thing. Antonio Brown wanted more money before he exited his prime years as a receiver. The Steelers refused to give it to him because AB is immature and unreliable. Le'Veon Bell wanted more money to stay in Pittsburgh. The Steelers refused to give it to him because Bell is immature and unreliable. You know why Brown and Bell have taken their frustrations out on Big Ben? Because Ben is immature and unreliable. That's all they're saying. I can't get my money because I'm immature and unreliable? So is Ben. And you give him more money every time he asks. At a time when other Super Bowl super experienced quarterbacks are throwing fewer and fewer interceptions, Ben led the entire league in interception. Here's what's clearly insinuated in the Penn Live article, that Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Ryan Clark, Josh Harris, Deion Sanders, Shannon Sharp, and Greg Jennings are all ganging up on poor little Benny Roethlisberger. All these black players are talking bad about poor little Benny. You got a problem with the messengers? So you want to ignore the message. No dice. I've loved Ben Roethlisberger since he was a star in the Mid-American Conference. He brought all this on himself. All right, joining the desk now, Fox Sports analyst Mark Schlereth and TJ Houshmandzadeh. Guys, is the media being unfair, the national media? Are we being unfair to Big Ben Roethlisberger?
Not at all. Ben deserves a lot of criticism that he's receiving, but I think it's becoming a little bit too much. He's part of the problem, but if I'm a receiver, I want Ben Roethlisberger to be my quarterback. Like that, I'm not going to deny that. If I was on his team, I would be happy. And Antonio Brown's going to realize that now. Like, I done left Ben, what I'm going to do. Now, and it says, oh, it's a racial component to this. The Seattle Seahawks criticized Russell Wilson. Black players criticizing the black quarterback. It didn't get to this point because the guys, Russell Wilson didn't have the type of personality that Ben, but he was criticized by Richard Sherman and other guys that, oh, we don't like this. It's just so much with Ben. I see where they're coming from, but I just believe the criticism, and it's all the time now, it's a bit much. Ben Roethlisberger played a part in it. So did Le'Veon Bell. So did Antonio Brown. Everybody gets a piece of the blame.
Yeah, listen, he brought it on himself. He deserves the criticism. I mean, that's like one time Jerome Bettis told me, if everywhere you go it smells like poop, it just might be you, right? And so, I mean, how many guys have to point the same finger at that guy for you to actually go, maybe there's something to that story? Now, here's the deal. It's a quarterback issue in my mind, right? Every quarterback is going to be, you talked about softballs versus hardballs. They play hardball with the receiver. They play hardball with the running back. Why? Because those guys don't play into their 40s. They don't. Quarterbacks do. Every rule is meant for the quarterback to have success. You can't even look at the quarterback. You cannot eat onions pregame and breathe on the quarterback without getting a flag. So everything is bent towards that. Now, you can either deflect that as a quarterback, praise your teammates, basically do the things you're asked to do, or you can use that as a way to kind of flaunt it in front of the organization, flaunt it in front of the players. To me, every quarterback is given that. Now, some guys, I think it's your responsibility as a quarterback to basically defer those things and say, no, I'm not, like, you can take that stuff or you can get treated that way, but you have to integrate yourself into the team, and you can never be above the team. I will tell you this, you talk about Phillip Rivers. He drives from San Diego to Carson to practice every day. He has somebody drive him. He's got an office in the back of his car where he's studying film. Matt Ryan told me, man, that's a great idea. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, I have a car service now, so I can study all the way. You are asked on Tuesdays, where we have the day off, if you're not in rehab, those guys are getting the game plans. They're doing more work than you. They have more preparation work to do. They are tied with the coaches all the time. That's why they get paid more. That's why when they outperform their contracts and say, hey, man, I'm 36 and I want a new deal, they go, okay, how much do you want?
Okay, get all of that. There is more requirement on the quarterback.
Sure.
It is a quarterback-driven league, and Le'Veon and Antonio Brown have to understand that. And so a bit of their whining is like, hey, man, you play the wrong position. You'd get treated like Ben if you played a different position. Having said that, do we have agreement here, though, that Ben's dysfunction is, in a different way, is just as toxic and or damaging as AB and Le'Veon's?
Absolutely. Maybe more so. Because, again, everybody knows within a locker room that the quarterback is the most important guy in pro sports, in any professional sport, all right? So that's why I've always felt like that guy has a responsibility, like, to deflect 100% of the praise to his teammates and accept 100% of the responsibility when things don't go well. That's how you earn the respect of the guys that you play with. To stand tough in the pocket, Ben does that. But you've got to accept all that stuff, and you have to be self-aware. You have to realize that you're given preferential treatment, and then you have to basically, in that, give it back to your teammates. That's how I feel about the quarterback.
What Ben should be doing is he should be coddling Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell so that they don't feel this way. It shouldn't get to the point where they feel like, and I've said this many a times, we put the quarterback on a pedestal, and when things aren't going good, you say, oh, he doesn't have enough help. But when things are going great, we give him all the credit. Ben should know the position he's in. Antonio, what's the problem? Okay, we're going to fix this. Le'Veon, what's the problem? Okay, we'll get this handled. That's what he should have done. And that's where he takes part of the blame, because he knows the position he's in as a quarterback, that I have to really manage egos on the team.
What if Ben's position is, because that was inferred in the article, that AB wanted Ben to assist him in getting more money. But Ben could reach a point where it's like, hey, man, you've done enough dumb stuff that you can't squeeze any more money out of Pittsburgh.
He shouldn't do that. He could say he could
lie
say
to him, perhaps. Yeah.
he could say to Antonio, "Okay, I got you,"
Yeah.
and then you just don't do it. I'm sure that's happened plenty of times. I got you. I'm gonna go fight for you upstairs.
Right. Or you
And-
can go fight for him upstairs. It's upstairs.
Still their decision.
Ultimately, still their
it's still
deal.
their decision.
Right.
And so that's where the disconnect is. And, you know, the Steelers have this thing, we don't guarantee more than 1 year. Let's see what happens when Ben signs his next contract. Let's see what happens when he signs his next contract. How much guaranteed money? Is it just going to be 1 year, or are they just going to really front load him and give him 40, 50 million in 1 year? And this guy's going to, I told you exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I see this as a battle over dollars, and they see more headed towards Ben, and they want some of it. You mentioned, and in the article they talk about the plot to destroy Ben is that Ben's only response is to not respond publicly, to do nothing. Only his on-field performance can answer any of this. And we talked yesterday here on this show. I think he's going to have a big performance this year. There's a lot of pressure on him. But should he address this publicly? Has it reached the point now? There's such a massive criticism. He's such a big part of the off-season conversation. I happen to think it probably would be best for Ben to address this publicly and to accept some blame. And even if he doesn't believe it, say, you know what, I could have done things differently and should have done things differently, I do think it's reached a point where he's going to have to address this publicly.
Once we get to the mini camps and he's asked these questions, that will be his answer. I'm sure I could have done things differently. You know, I love playing with those guys. They're no longer here, so I'm going to focus and concentrate on the guys that are here. I'm sure he has some regrets. He knows he didn't handle this the perfect way, but he handled it the way that he saw, okay, this is the best way to go about things. And for whatever reason, I'm not going to come out and make a statement if I'm Ben Roethlisberger, but if I'm asked a question, my answer will be, I'm sure I didn't handle things the right way. I'm sorry those guys feel that way. We got a season to play. I'm going to get ready and prepare with the guys that are in this locker room and go to war with them.
Yeah, I think come minicamp, like you said, and I think it's a great point. I do think he needs to get out in front of it. I know the question will be asked, right? You put guys on public blast on your radio show. If you can put somebody on public blast on your radio show, then you damn well better be willing to put yourself on public blast and say, you know what, I didn't handle it well. That's not going to happen anymore. And you know, shame on the organization for not holding him accountable, right? Shame on the organization. Like, you can't, like, you're never as good as they say you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are in this league. But what I don't want a bunch of finger pointers. Like we always do, like, I want thumb pullers, right? Hey, man, it's on me. It's my responsibility, right? I don't want to, hey, I'll admit, it's
But
you,
see,
right? It's you.
But the general
he needs
manager
to be
comes out and says, oh, Ben can
it's
say
okay.
whatever.
Yeah,
So how can...
Right, but Ben, okay, Ben, you need to be more self-aware than that. Because if you don't do it, every guy in your locker room is looking like, uh-oh, they just gave
But
Ben
if that's his personality
the keys to the
call
kingdom.
people out and the GM says, Ben, you can do it, then, I'm going to do it.
And that's why I say the organization has, and Mike Tomlin needs to put his foot down. And I've said this about Mike Tomlin for a long time. He needs to be better in those situations. So, but you've got to be self-aware, and you've got to understand the responsibility you have playing that position.
But look at the echo chamber that Ben exists in, because again, you read this article, all the local media is sympathetic right now towards Ben.
Because
They're supposed to.
Yeah, they're kissing his butt. They got to talk to him.
They're supposed. Antonio Brown is gone. Le'Veon Bell is gone. Ben's still there. They want to get in his good graces.
This is part of the problem, though, in terms of Ben being able to recognize what's true. The local media is all Ben. These guys are all a bunch. They don't like the messengers. AB and Le'Veon Bell, they're the wrong messengers. They're bad guys. You can ignore all that. Sometimes the dysfunctional guys can recognize the other dysfunctional guys because all they're doing is taking cues from the main dysfunctional guy. I think it's a mistake for the local media and or Ben Roethlisberger to ignore Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown in this situation, and you can be upset with all the other athletes on TV that are sympathetic to AB and Le'Veon, but there's some truth here if you just look at Ben's behavior. And again, I go back to his whole, I'm a gunslinger. Well, that era is dead, man. It went away with Brett Favre. The gunslinger era is over. with your lips and with your arm. And this local media caping up for Ben is going to interfere with, in my view, potentially with him doing the right thing.
But you look at it like this. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, the criticism is just over the top. But then you got guys on a team like Marquise Pouncey that have come out and said, Ben's a great leader. So Ben can look at it and say, oh, these two guys just didn't like me. But I got a whole fraction of guys that really, they enjoy being on the team with me. They see me as a leader. They're going to go to war with me. They're going to fight for me. They got my back. I have their back. And so he sees things that way, and so maybe he has blinders on.
He's got to be smart enough to say, offensive linemen, generally speaking, we enjoy being led. You know, receivers, running backs, the guys that are other superstars, you know, it takes a lot more work to lead them. Getting Marquise Pouncey on board, that's not hard work. Getting Schlereth on board, it's not real hard work.
I would say this, too. You have a lot of respect, and this goes for me as a former offensive lineman, for a guy who will stand up in that pocket, take hits, deliver the football, shake tacklers off. You get a lot of respect for that.
Yeah.
And it's easy for an offensive lineman just to see that and go, oh, yeah, he's my guy. Like, he'll stand up there and take that. And so, yeah, you know, I'm with you. My biggest thing is the self-awareness aspect of Ben leading a football team. And you have got to be at that position because you're going to get all the extra benefits of playing that position. You have to be selfless, and you have to be able to lead your team from a selfless standpoint. And unless you're willing to do that, and again, calling dudes out on your radio show and throwing dudes under the bus and behind closed doors, if we want to have an argument, that's one thing. But, man, you just can't, to me, you just can't go out there and do that, especially at that position.
Hey, with that being said, if you can't get to Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, you got to make it work with Roethlisberger. You say what you want to say, he can play.
I'm Jason Whitlock. Marcellus Wiley's off today. Joining me today are Mark Schlereth and TJ Houshmandzadeh. All right, let's return to the NFL. The draft is just a month away. College stars such as Kyler Murray of Oklahoma will be auctioned off to the highest bidder. The NFL uses college football like a minor league system, but not everyone in the NFL is comfortable with that. An anonymous team executive went off on the current state of amateurism, telling Sports Illustrated, quote, "It's garbage and everybody knows it's garbage. They're never more marketable than the 4 years they're in college. Their stadiums are bigger than ours, and everyone's paid $100 to get in and $50 to park, and the conference has a TV contract, and there's national television, and the players don't get a dime. How in the world is this legal?" And I'm just wondering how in the world this executive doesn't have the self-awareness to know that he and the NFL could do something about this or could lead a conversation to help change this. The NFL needs to be a part of the solution here, not just sitting back complaining about amateurism. They should be leading the discussion about how can we compensate these players before they get to the NFL. They do come to our league banged up, but also I think what they forget is they come to the NFL with an attitude and some bitterness about football. They feel exploited for 3 or 4 years in college football, and that's why you constantly have NFL players that say, oh, we're treated like slaves. Oh, I'm going to take a knee. We're oppressed. And the NFL needs to get involved with fixing amateurism and taking care of their young stars before they ever get to the NFL.
The NFL should get involved from a conversation starter. They should start the conversation. Now, financially, they should have no part in paying the player, not the NFL. There's too much money in college football for the NFL to say, okay, this is our portion of it. How do you
benefit from the college system, though?
And when they do benefit from it, and the players benefit from it when they get to the NFL, I believe college players should be paid. How do you navigate through that? Because if a 5-star college recruit comes in, he's going to feel like he deserves to get more than a 3-star college recruit. And so how do you...
And that's why I think the NFL should lead the conversation, because they should help compensate the guys that have a real shot at playing in the NFL.
But then there's guys that come out of nowhere, 3-star recruit.
And by the time they're sophomores or juniors, they've identified themselves as NFL prospects, compensate them then.
So the money can always go up and change constantly?
Depending upon what level of prospect you are. You show yourself to be an NFL prospect and someone that can help drive ticket sales, yeah, you should participate in the compensation.
I don't think the NFL should pay anything. I mean, they got a perfect system right now. They've got a bunch of guys that are getting trained from them on a college standpoint that are coming in and filling the league up. So, from a conversation, it's fine. That's the NCAA's issue. The NCAA, those guys, that's their business.
Mark, I'm saying it's an NFL issue as well in terms, why are NFL players making millions of dollars feel exploited and are so angry, and you just went through a 3-year wrestling match with them about kneeling before the national anthem, and I think some of it is connected to they come out of the college game feeling exploited by football, and they just apply it to the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know. I can only speak for myself. I didn't feel exploited, man. I loved my time at the University of Idaho. Now, that said, I paid a price. I had a lot of surgeries. I had a lot of issues. I was retired. There was a lot of things that went on during the course of that time. I got to grow from that, but I'm not mad at the NFL about it. I was mad, I look at the college system and the fat cats. There was a gal who played golf who washed her car at the facility, and the NCAA turned, the organization or the school turned her into the NCAA and basically said, we can't have this because you used $20 worth of water and a hose, and so you're going to have to pay us back. Because meanwhile, the football coach rolls in a $100,000 Mercedes and is getting $8 million a year. These are the inconsistencies from the NCAA. I don't see how that's the NFL's fault. I look at the NFL saying, I think there needs to be an intermediate league like the Alliance of American Football, and you need to invest in that so those players who don't get properly trained at the college game come up and can still keep their NFL live or their NFL hopes alive in that. That's to me where their responsibility is.
And so the problem where I see that for the NFL is this college system feeds the NFL beautifully, man. They're sending them ready-baked superstars like Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield and all the guys, even the Mark Schlereth, the little fan base you had coming from Idaho, that all contributes to the NFL. The guy that plays for the Birmingham Iron in the AAF, he's not bringing any fanfare, anything to the NFL other than his talents. And so I think the NFL does have a reason and a motive to want to see college football be healthy. And so I don't want to rip the guy for complaining about the system, but I want him to be aware the NFL can be a driver, I believe, in helping fix that system.
You look at a couple points here. They get so much praise and adulation from being on college football. A lot of these guys are superstars, yes, when they come into the NFL. You go play in another league, number one, that's not going to happen. You got defensive coordinators in college football making millions of dollars. And you say, oh, they go into the league and they're upset. Okay, they see baseball players, guaranteed contract. They see basketball players, guaranteed contract. As an NFL player, we don't even have lifetime medical insurance, and we play the roughest sport. Those other sports do. And so the malcontent and disconnect can be from those type of things more so than anything else.
I wouldn't say more so. I think there's a pie.
As you get older, Jason, you're just more aware. The media, you're more aware as you get older of things that you feel you're beaten, untreated a little unfairly. You're not treated the right way, and so it's like, okay, let me voice my displeasure now.
I think that basketball players, because of the AAU system and because of how much illegal money gets funneled around at age 15, 16, I feel like they have more of a loyalty to basketball. Man, basketball been taking care of me since I was 15 years old.
So true.
Football players don't feel that way. I've been taking care of myself, and then when I get to the NFL, I got to go to war with these guys, even though I play the most dangerous sport. I'm saying the NFL would be best served by offering these guys a little help before they get
Their
to
help
the
should
NFL.
be in the form of a conversation starter. Financially, it's too much money in NCAA.
Right. Moving on to a topic fans in New Orleans are still angry about, replay. The competition committee has proposed adding pass interference, roughing the passer, and unnecessary hits against a defenseless receiver to the list of reviewable plays. That means if a penalty is called, those plays could still be reviewed. So the famous no call in the NFC Championship game would still not be reviewable under these changes. All right, so initially I was all in, more review. And I've been someone over my Twitter feed, man, pass interference needs to be reviewed. One of our producers pointed out to me this morning, like, you do know if they review these plays, the refs are going to be more apt to throw a flag. Because, we can check it out in replay. They can challenge it. If I'm wrong here, they can just challenge it. And so what it's actually going to lead to is more penalties. There's nothing I hate more than the yellow flag. It's undermined my enjoyment and happiness with football because after every play, I'm looking for that little yellow dot in the corner of my TV screen, and it drives me crazy. I don't know if I can trust what I see because the flag. And so I'm not for this. I want less penalties, not more.
I was very similar to that. Any game-changing play, let's be able to challenge. Pass interference, 25-plus more yards, should be able to challenge that. A roughing the passer that gives somebody an automatic first down, let's challenge it. I don't know the percentage, but I'm guessing NFL referees probably get close to 80% of the calls right during a game, probably more than that. How many bad calls does a coach make in a game? You think the ref is going up to him? Hey, coach, that was a terrible call, man. Right. What are you doing? So we all want to jump on a ref when they make a bad call, but how many times are we going to jump on a coach when they make that was a bad call? The refs aren't doing that. It's an imperfect game. They're going to make mistakes, and you just live with it. For the most part, they get 80%, I'm guessing, right.
Yeah, I would even say more than that. I hate instant replay. I've never liked instant replay. I wish they'd do away with the entire system. I think it's ridiculous.
You want them to get rid of HD TV too?
No. I want to see. I love playoff football. You know why? Because they swallow their whistles and they let you guys hand fight on the outside and like, can you beat me or can you get beat up? I love that aspect of football. Like one of the biggest things that drives me crazy is when there's a questionable catch and then the whole offensive huddle runs up to the line of scrimmage to snap the ball really quickly and waste it down. It looks to me like a bunch of 11 guys jumping out of a clown car and running around, and then coming. Do you want to get it right or do you not want to get it right? They always say, hey, we want to make this game right. We want to get the calls right. So let's put instant replay in. But you only get 3 challenges because we only want to get it right 3 times a game. Because the other times, if you don't, if you're out of challenges, we don't care about getting it right. I think the whole thing is asinine. I think what you've done is you've made refs less demonstrative. You've taken the power away from the ref, so they're not as in control of the game. And I think the other thing that you've done is you've allowed the ref to go, hey man, I'm just going to swallow this. I'm just going to let instant replay figure it out. You want to talk about an imperfect game. I don't know about you, but I was always coached growing up that never let it come down to one bad call. Take care of your business. The New Orleans Saints, when you get in the red zone twice in the first quarter, how about you score a touchdown instead of kick field goals? Hey, when you get the ball down there close, don't throw the ball and throw an incomplete and stop the clock when there's 1:30 left and you can run it down to 30 seconds. Run the damn ball.
Yeah, should the ref go say, hey, Sean,
and that was a bad call, man.
Yeah,
so I'm just not an instant replay guy. Here's the other thing. We're going to do this, right? It's going to be up for debate whether we make these calls or not. It's not going to affect the call that everybody's up in arms about. So this is smoke and mirrors from the NFL again. Hey, look, we're actually looking at it. We're not going to change the damn thing, but look, we're looking at it. Nothing's going to change.
They're putting the burden on the coaches to some degree, too. It's like, because, again, I think it's going to lead them to throw more flags and then say, you don't like it? Throw a flag and review it. You're going to have to give them more challenges. And again, the number one thing, you can't react to whatever Twitter's upset about or even the media's upset about in the moment. You need to take a step back and really analyze what is really frustrating our fans. Is it the one call in the New Orleans game where New Orleans fans are upset about it, but everybody else is kind of in y'all's camp like, hey, Sean Payton, you should have called some better plays. What's really upsets a mass of fans, I'm just telling you, is sitting around watching a game and after every play, you check to see if that yellow dot is on the screen. That's what is aggravating football fans. They don't know if they can trust what they actually see because too many plays disappear because that yellow dot pops up and it's like, oh, that play never happened. And so less penalties is the key, and I think they need to be relaxing the rules so that the refs have to make less calls and that the people actually paid millions of dollars who are the great performers actually let them be the star of the show. It's like Michael Jackson but the backups singers are the stars of the show. We're gonna put most of the focus on them and give them most of the control. No, I wanna see Michael moonwalk. I wanna see TJ Houshmandzadeh make a catch I've never seen before. I wanna see John Riggins run it up the middle when no one thought he could. I don't care about the refs. Less refs, more players. Marcellus has the day off. Joining me today, Mark Schlereth and TJ Houshmandzadeh. All right, let's return to the NFL. The Chiefs were the top seed in the AFC last season, and Patrick Mahomes took the MVP award, but not all is well in KC. The recent departures of Dee Ford, Justin Houston, who combined for 22 sacks last season, leave some holes on the defense. On offense, Kareem Hunt has resurfaced in Cleveland, and Tyreek Hill has some looming legal issues that leave his status up in the air. I think it was NFL.com ranked the Chiefs as the 6th team right now going into the offseason. And I think a lot of people would have thought of Kansas City as a favorite, as maybe the favorite coming back into next season. But there's reason to be concerned. You can't have Eric Berry's gone. I know they're replacing with Tyrann Mathieu, but there's been a lot of upheaval in Kansas City. I'm worried about the Chiefs, and particularly if Tyreek Hill gets suspended, or there's even Jay Glazer said there were rumors they could even try to trade him. Chiefs could take a step back.
To me, that's the only thing is with Tyreek Hill. Losing Justin Houston and they were the 31st ranked defense. Who were they stopping? And
they were sacking people.
They were still ranked 31st. As long as you got Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, the Chiefs are going to be fine. Now, if you lose Tyreek Hill, for me, that's a big blow. Losing Eric Berry is not – he didn't play last year. He missed missed so many games, and then you bring in Tyrann Mathieu. They're going from a 3-4 defense to a 4-3 defense. I guess Spagnuolo didn't think Dee Ford and Justin Houston fit. They'll find some edge rushers, but Tyreek Hill, he is the key piece. Him and Mahomes, along with Big Red, Andy Reid, they're the key pieces in this. As long as they have those guys, they'll be fine.
Tyreek Hill, if Tyreek Hill is suspended, I think the Chiefs drop way back. And I look at their offense, not only does he stretch you vertically, because he does. He's a lift the top coverage guy. He stretches you horizontally. And I think when you watch them and you break them down, all the jet sweep, the fake reverse, not only does it set up the screen game on the outside edges with the bubble screens and you throw the screen to them off a fake reverse, but what it ends up doing is holding the backside of every running play. So when they press a running play, they press it onside, opposite the side that Tyreek Hill ran from, that side never constricts. That side sits back
Sets
there,
up the blocks
right,
for the line.
and sets everybody up, and you're getting 5, 8, 12 yards of carry, and then all the play action stuff it does. Talking to Wink Martindale when I called the Baltimore game, he's a defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, right? Wink Martindale said this to me. He goes, listen, and Tyreek Hill was huge. 4th down and 9, they converted a play, and where Kansas City came back in Kansas City and beat Baltimore. Wink Martindale says this to me. He goes, on film, he was fast. When we got on the field, he goes, that's the fastest player in pads I have ever coached against. Like, it is shocking what a difference that guy makes. So you stretch it horizontally, and now you stretch it vertically. You take that component away from the Chiefs, that's a huge deal. You get off the bus and you're going to play the Chiefs, you're like, okay, how do we stop number 10? That's what you're asking.
Why are they talking about trading him? Like, unless they know he's going to get suspended.
Contract. It was before the scandal, but it was contract demands.
You got to pay somebody.
Again, they have more information than we do.
Now, unless
so they may not be shocked by these allegations.
Right.
So they have more information than the rest of us. All right, let's move to Pittsburgh, where NFL.com put out their latest power rankings, and there was a surprise way down at number 18, the Steelers. Pittsburgh has been a mainstay in the top 10 of the list, but the recent departures of Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell have dropped them below the Browns and the Ravens in the AFC North. I get where they're coming from with this ranking, but I completely disagree.
Wow.
And I've been, look, I'm critical of Big Ben, critical of Tomlin, critical of the Steelers. They're going to rally. This offseason is exactly what they needed. It's an enema, and they're going to flush everything out, and things are going to run more smoothly this year. I really like them to win the AFC North. They're wrong about having Pittsburgh this low.
You might be right, but when you play paper football in the spring, this ranking is just about right. It really is. Cleveland, they've done a lot of really good things, and on paper, they have the best team in the division. On paper, we don't play games on paper, but right now, when you lose Antonio Brown, you lose Le'Veon Bell. It's a lot of dysfunction going on.
Who's got the best quarterback in the division?
They do, but who has the best receivers? Who has the best running back? Who has the best defense? On paper, it's probably Cleveland. And so that's why they're ranked rightfully. Now, once September rolls around, let's see if they can translate it to the field.
There's a culture to winning.
Yeah, I think 18's too low because you still got a top 5 quarterback in this league in Ben Roethlisberger. So I think 18's too low. Here's the other reason I think 18's too low. When I played with Denver, every guy that we put in the backfield got 1,200 yards rushing. Even when TD got hurt, and then I'll remember they drafted Clinton Portis. He had 1,500 yards one season, and they traded him away. And Mike Shanahan was like, well, Reuben Drones will get 1,200, and he did. I mean, they had a knack for figuring that out. Pittsburgh has a knack. Every year they get a receiver, and you're like, damn, where'd that guy come from? That guy's pretty good. They'll have a receiver that steps up. They'll have linebackers that play well. They've got running backs that play well. They've got a good offensive line. I think 18's too low.
Let me say this, and you guys both know it, and I don't mean this, don't get personal and defensive, but TJ, you played a lot of years in Cincinnati, and y'all had a lot of talent a lot of years, but did the culture know how to win, and particularly win when it really mattered? And they didn't. Pittsburgh, despite last year, that's just a winning culture. Cleveland, I just haven't seen it. And Baltimore has had it, but Baltimore's gone a whole identity change. To me, the whole Ray Lewis era, now that Terrell Suggs is gone, is over. I just trust Pittsburgh's winning culture more than the others.
And it's just what I said. On paper, if you go through the rosters on paper, if you're a general manager, you would prefer Cleveland's roster over Pittsburgh's right now. If you're a general manager, we're not talking how are they in the locker room? Do they get along? We're talking on paper. The Cleveland Browns have an impressive roster. Now, can they translate that to the field come September? Who knows?
Whitlock, time to get antisocial. Got my Twitter off. Mark Slayer, TJ Houshmandzadeh are back. Darnell, our social media manager.
What's going on?
I like that shirt. Nerd!
Yes, sir. I got another shirt for my boy Stank.
All right.
Throw it over here to you real quick.
Nice.
I know you asked for it yesterday, so.
Oh, the war on football.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
what's popping
I like
on
that
those
one.
Twitter streets?
I want one.
I got you, man.
All right.
We all
Ain't got
2XLs
2XL,
right now, so.
yeah.
Let's start off on the slopes, where Tom Brady took to Instagram to post a video of himself downhill skiing. Clearly, the man is enjoying his offseason, but Patriots fans are a little nervous about their quarterback's new hobby, with most people freaking out, telling them to slow down and to not go off of any jumps. Do you guys think the fans are overreacting here?
No. If this was anybody but Tom Brady, this would be a real controversy. Paying him too much money, he's too important to be skiing like this.
Man, he going down that slope a little too fast. You talking about, they say Patrick Mahomes can't hoop, but he can do that? Something wrong.
Hey, that's a groom trail, man. There ain't no problem with the groom trail going fast.
What's a groom trail? We're not
It's
from
just
Denver.
smooth.
Oh.
It's easy. It's
We black, man, we don't ski.
You're not on the double. You're not on the double black diamond mogul skiing.
Oh.
There's a difference. You can't get hurt doing
And
that.
I ain't
don't know
never
what you talking
seen it
about
in my
right
life. Man,
Yeah.
he looked like he was going a little too fast.
We roller skate, man. You ever been to roller cave?
Come on now. I got the music playing.
All right, what's next, Darnell?
Yeah, moving on to my guy Cam Newton, who has made headlines recently for his interesting challenges this offseason. Yesterday, he posted the video on Instagram looking ripped up with one of his uniquely fonted captions. If you're a normal human being like me and can't read Cam's code here, allow me to translate. This vegan stuff is paying off. Could you ever see yourself going vegan?
Yeah, I've done that. I've been vegan, but I didn't look like that. So
When
didn't
you
work
go
for me.
vegan, Whitlock?
Oh, man, I've been vegan.
An hour? You went vegan for an hour?
Like 20 days before.
Okay.
I didn't look like that.
I respect it.
I go meatgin. What is it? Is that? That's the opposite. Meatgin. I could go meat. I could not do vegan.
I could
Forget
never
that.
do it. I mean, he should have posted something before and after or something.
So you can see the difference, right?
Yeah,
He's
I
been
can't-
ripped up, even before.
Yeah,
I'm
that-
not doing it.
Where
I
is
can't
he
do it.
working out at? It looks like he's in his kitchen. To me, I was like, what the hell is he doing? But yeah, I never look like that. I'm sorry. Vegan or otherwise. All right, what's next?
Yeah, moving on to the Oakland Raiders, who signed both Antonio Brown and Vontaze Burfict, but there doesn't seem to be any bad blood between the two, despite the ongoing feud that's been a big storyline the past few seasons. AB took to Instagram yesterday to blame the NFL for the so-called feud, saying, quote, "It's funny how the NFL would make you a villain with their own teammate now." Do you like AB blaming the NFL for this?
No. Burfict knocked him out, and AB don't want to be knocked out again,
Right.
so he's saying he's blaming the NFL. He's channeling his anger at the NFL because he knows he don't want no smoke with Burfict.
Debo. He knows
Man, they
that.
teammates now. It's like, don't talk about what he did. We're opposing. We're going against each. We teammates now. It's all love.
Yeah, he's also sending out a little bit of a smoke signal there that when we get into practice and we have a live drill, don't lay me out.
Right, yeah.
He's reminding. Hey, just let me
Burfict,
remind you
he
again.
ain't that crazy.
Perfect.
Yes, he is.
We're teammates
There's
now.
some guys that can't turn that switch off, man.
Ain't nobody that crazy.
There's
I
some
hope
guy-
not.
Even in practice, Colts had a linebacker, Jeff Harrod. He had no off switch. He went hard all the time. Perfect, same cut. All right, what's next, Darnell?
Yeah, to another receiver who's always active online, Dez Bryant, who missed all of last season and is currently recovering from an Achilles tear. Even with his back against the wall, he's still confident that he'll be back on the field and tearing it up, tweeting out, "I will be a steal wherever I go. Bet on it." Dez has a bunch of haters down on out there, so do you think he'll ever play again?
No.
Wow.
Tore his Achilles. He barely got signed last year. He got hurt 20 minutes into practice. Dez is done. The AAF be a steal in that league, and he's right.
Oh, man.
I think he'll get an opportunity, but will he be a steal? Nah. I've never torn my Achilles. I've been lucky. I've only had one surgery, but a steal? Nah, that's not gonna happen.
I think he'll get an opportunity. There are organizations that will put him in a position, and it may only be 6-8 plays a game, red zone target guys, you know.
6'8". He might as well stay on.
Right, no,
minimum.
if you're getting paid, you're getting
Right.
paid to be the red zone, big target, body up a dude.
No, we just saw Dez couldn't get separation when he was
You
with
don't
the
need
Cowboys.
you never
Like,
need separation
Jump
with your
ball.
body and
Yeah.
bodying people
Jump
up
ball.
in the end zone.
what kind of 480 and what kind of vertical do you think he has after tearing his Achilles?
It's just ball skills. You ain't really got to get up in there. You just got to have ball skills.
Block dudes out. It's like
Like you Uber.
It's being a good rebound.
Ball skills. When they go to jump, you give them a little nudge, very slightly. Don't stick your arm out, just a little chicken wing. They can't jump.
I could tell TJ used to cheating.
Yeah, TJ. All right, Darnell, what's question of the day?
It's Darnell.
My guy. My guy.
My question of the day. All right, guys. So my guy Brandon Newman, shout out to B New, just got married last weekend, and I recently got engaged a few months ago. I know TJ and Mark, both of you guys have pulled off long-term marriages. So my question is, what's the key to a successful marriage?
Oh, well,
I'll go
No,
first on this one.
let's dumb that down. Successful relationship.
successful relationship.
Not just marriage.
Okay, go
For
ahead.
those of us that may never get married, though.
So for me, it's a lot of give and take. That's the key is your opinion, you're going to think is always right. And even when you argue, you still feel you're right. But you're right. That's the key. You're right. But it's a lot of give and take, man. Sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do. You got to agree with things you don't agree with for the betterment of the household. And for me, I learned that probably about 5 years ago. So it's ups and downs, little minor arguments when you have kids. You know, it's tough, but it's rewarding at the same time.
I asked once when I was a young newly married guy, this couple had been together for 50 years, and I asked the gentleman, like, what was the key or what is the key to long-term relationships? And he said, oh, it's easy. How thoughtless of me, sweetheart. That will never happen again. That's what he told me. But for me, this is what I've learned about marriage and about long-term relationships. It is not a 50-50 proposition. It's a 100-100 proposition. You got to give 100%. And if you're not willing to do that, it's going to end poorly. That's the bottom line.
Hey, and you remember Jason, a dictator. You can't have that type of attitude.
Trust me, I know that.
You know, I say a lot of things, but here recently I've been very satisfied.
You turning
and
the corner.
content and you know what I had to learn, though, to be honest with you, why this has gone on for about 18 months now, is I don't care about being right. I just don't. It's so overrated, being right. And I'm really.
Well, you go home, you don't want to be right anymore. You're right on this show, right? For
Yeah.
an hour and a half a day, right?
And that's where it's important. I do care about being right on this show, and I told you so on this show. But in everything else, it's so
That's where a lot of the
overrated.
arguments come from, too. You
Pride.
think you're right. I am right.
Yep.
That's where a lot of the arguments
Overrated.
come from.
completely overrated. Being wrong is actually a good thing a lot of times. You get rewarded for being wrong, particularly when you admit that you're wrong. Get rewarded.
Yes, sir.
Might be the only time you ever get it. I'm Jason Whitlock. Marcellus is off today. We're joined now by former Duke star Dante Jones and former UCLA star Matt Barnes. All right, let's talk some NCAA tournament, where 2 seed Michigan State avoided the upset to number 15 seed Bradley yesterday. In the win, Coach Tom Izzo had to be restrained during a heated confrontation with freshman guard Aaron Henry after a furious Izzo ran up to Henry during a timeout. Then in the huddle, Izzo lunged at Henry and had to be held back, apparently over his lack of defense. After the game, Izzo was unapologetic, but explained the dispute.
When you're a freshman now at this time of year, you don't make mental mistakes on things that when we're telling a guy which way he goes or not running back, or there were some things Aaron didn't do a very good job of. And yet, you know what? Like happened, I did get after him, and he did respond, and he did make a couple big buckets, and he did make some big free throws. But that's not good enough. This is one and done time, The my bads are out the window.
I don't think anybody will be surprised. I'm not bothered by this. I think they need to yell more at kids. And so you played for Coach K. I can't believe this bothers you in any way.
No, it doesn't bother me at all. But it doesn't bother me now as the man. Obviously, when you're going through it, you don't understand it. Like, my mother probably doesn't like Coach K to this day, but
really,
because of the way, like, sometimes she didn't agree with the way he talked to me and yelled at me. But now, as a man, you sit back and you start understanding yourself more. And the greats, and I consider Izzo a great as well as Coach K is, they understand how to motivate kids and talk and try to communicate with them and try to help them grow and be men and teach them different life skills, because that's what basketball is basically all about. And he saw some things in me that I needed to change, and he needed to motivate me in a way that would help me be able to play at the next level. And I appreciate everything. I even appreciate him more now than I did then.
I think you hit it on the head. I think while you're going through it, because I got ripped by Laugh several times at UCLA, I was down on myself, but at the same time, growing up, understanding it. And I think you made a great point with, I think overall in life, not just sports, we need to be able to yell at kids and really get control back of them, because kids these days are off the chain. But in this situation, it's not like he gave up on them. At this time, it's just like equivalent to playoff time in the NBA. Like, you can't have mental mistakes. Effort is something you can never lack. That you can always control your effort. You can't control makes, you can't control a lot of things, but effort's something you can control. He got on him. He didn't give up on him. He still played him. And then, like Coach said, he made some good plays down the stretch. So I see nothing wrong with this at all. I think this is much to do with
what nothing. I think might be interesting, both of you guys are parents now, and I think your kids are athletes. And then, Dante, you made the point about your mother, so just as parents, and again, your kids play basketball. You guys are basketball experts. How much leeway are you going to give a coach who may not know as much as you that's being this kind of forceful with your kids?
As a parent now and as an ex-basketball player, you got to understand, you have to care about a kid that much more to give him that much energy.
Right.
You understand? If he doesn't care about you and your progression, he's not saying nothing to you,
Right.
he don't really care about you.
If they're yelling, they're caring.
So if they're yelling, that's what they're showing they're caring. They need you to learn something, and it's about the communication. It's about you seeing past how it's coming at you and disseminating the information and learning and not worrying about being in that moment.
But I'm sure y'all see some bad coaches.
Oh yeah, no.
At that level.
I think as long
At
as
any
he's,
level, though,
as long as he's telling them the right things and not putting his hand on them, you got to respect that. Like I said, you're giving them the right information. Kids need that. I definitely think this, and you have to understand that this is the last time that kids of this caliber are going to be able to get yelled at, because the next level you can't yell at no one, you can't even look at no one sideways. You're going to get fired in the NBA.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this is the last chance that coaches really have to kind of mold players before they get to the next level. But as a father and someone that has 2 twins that play consistently, as long as the coach is relaying a positive and meaningful message and giving them the right information, I have no problem yelling at them.
I heard you say, though, Matt, don't you coach your own kids?
Yeah. Yes.
Is that because it's your passion, or is there a lack of trust, maybe?
It's my passion, and it's something I enjoy to do. I retired early just to be around my kids more and coach them more, so it's something that I really enjoy doing. But at the same time, I'm not a yelling coach. I'm someone understanding that, Magic Johnson said a long time ago, you can't talk to everybody the same as a leader.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So my kids are 10 years old, my team is 9 and 10, so I get down on one knee, I'll pull them to the side, because to keep it real, at that age, not too many people respond well to being yelled at in life in general. You know what I mean? So I'm just figuring, I was someone I didn't really care, but I saw some guys really go into a shell when they were yelled at. So, you know, when I coach my little kids, I get down on my knee, pull them to the side, and try not to embarrass them and just try to correct the problem.
All right, to college basketball's biggest star, not named Zion, Ja Morant, who led 12th seed Murray State to its first round upset over 5th seeded Marquette yesterday. Morant posted the first triple-double in a tournament game since Draymond Green back in 2012, including 16 assists. Ja is projected by many to be the number 2 pick in the upcoming NBA draft behind Zion. I'll let you guys answer this because I don't know. Should Ja perhaps be the number 1 pick just based on talent and what he would mean to the NBA in terms of play?
I think any other year but this year, yes. You know, I think if there was no Zion in this draft and it was either him or what's the other boy from Duke? RJ Barrett. I can see some teams taking a chance because he is a point guard that, like his father said, does absolutely everything out there. He's a dog. He's got a Westbrook mentality. He's really exciting and fun to watch, you know. So I think if it wasn't a Zion year, I just read something on the way here that there's a Zion cam now. You know, I mean, if it wasn't the year of Zion, he could possibly go number 1.
He's in the top 3 of the biggest talents we have in college basketball right now. There's no doubt about that. I think it's Zion, him, and then RJ Barrett. However, Zion is box office, big box office right now. And if you're an NBA franchise, you have to sell tickets as well. Zion has his own camera for NCAA. Like, he's the first person to have a camera following only him.
But not getting any money off it.
Right. True story.
Exploitation.
True story.
Pay
But
these kids.
He's going to be center stage for any NBA franchise. There's a situation where he possibly could go number 1 if Phoenix has the number 1 pick and they need a point guard. But I don't see it because I see them possibly drafting Zion and then trying to leverage them to somebody else right behind him. But Zion is the number 1 pick in most people's minds. Ja is number 2. I think RJ Barrett is number 3.
Zion is the next chosen one. You know what I mean? So I think regardless of what team happens, I think he'll be the number 1 pick.
Matt compares Ja to Westbrook. Is he more Derrick Rose?
I didn't compare. I just meant his mentality. Like, he looks like he's a dog when he's out there playing. That's what I meant by that.
I think he's influenced by all the good point guards. Right now, you see a little bit of him in him. Like, you see the shooting touch of a little bit of Steph. He passes the ball very well. He's an athlete. I think that's where the Derrick Rose and the Westbrook come. But he's under control, and he's making plays. Like, he's his own entity. We can compare him to people, but I think he's one guy that's going to be his own entity when he comes in the league and be himself and be worried about being the best player that he can be. Because even Zion, you try to compare him to other people, you can't. He's Zion. He's a different force.
Let's remove the marketing and the Zion cam and all the box office. Who's going to be the better NBA player?
I think Zion will.
I think Zion.
I think Zion is a rare breed from his size and strength and athleticism, and he's someone that can bully, but his game doesn't depend on being a bully. He's very crafty around the rim, soft touch, and I think for the next 10 to 15 years, his only job is to learn how to shoot. This kid's very talented too, but I think overall, and then you can't even forget RJ Barrett. You know, we were talking about this before. He's a very talented. Those 3 players I think are going to be like a Carmelo, LeBron, D Wade type when we look at it in 10 years possibly.
Who's going to be Melo? Someone identify him first so we can avoid him in the draft.
Zion doesn't need the ball in his hands. Zion doesn't need the ball in his hands to be successful. He does a whole bunch of things without the ball. So he has a better chance of playing on a more variety of teams. Ja needs the ball. He's more skilled than Zion right now, but Zion has a bigger ceiling. Like, they'll both grow and get better over time, but Zion's playing on basically his temperament, his love for the game, his athleticism. His skills are going to come and move him further and further up the chain, but he brings so much life and he can do so many things off the ball that he can help your team win right now.
Jason Whitlock here. Marcellus Wiley is off today. Mark Schlereth and TJ Houshmandzadeh are back. Let's return to the NFL, where the Ravens re-signed backup quarterback RGIII to a 2-year deal. The former Heisman winner and number 2 overall pick will back up Lamar Jackson, who sent Joe Flacco packing to Denver after a promising rookie campaign. The 29-year-old veteran RG3 played sparingly in 2 games last season while Jackson was injured. I'm someone that thinks there's like a 50% chance come the end of the year, RG3 will be Baltimore's starting quarterback. I say that because Lamar's going to run the ball. and you can't run the ball for long from that position in the NFL. You will get broken. Number two, I don't think Lamar is going to be a great passer. And so I could see a little sophomore slump. Baltimore's defense, I don't think is going to be as good. Defensive coordinators have film on Lamar Jackson. I say there's a 48-50% chance RG3 is the starter by the end of the season. Scale of 1 to 100, what do you say chances of RG3 being the starter by the end of the year?
I got to put that at 20%. And they went all in with Lamar Jackson. And so confidence-wise, only way RG3 gets in that starting lineup is if Lamar Jackson gets hurt. If he's playing bad, they're just going to roll with it. Confidence-wise, you can't yank him because it's going to play with his psyche. Now, Greg Minuski is the offensive coordinator.
Defensive coordinator.
He's
Greg Roman.
Greg
Roman's offensive
Greg
coordinator.
Roman is the offensive coordinator. Same guy that had Colin Kaepernick in San Francisco. And so he's going to divide. They signed Mark Ingram. They're going to be a run-centric offense. The problem is, can Lamar Jackson avoid the injuries? And he's not a very big guy weight-wise and build-wise. So I put it at 20%. I'm not feeling good about that. It's just you have to be able to throw the ball. And that you have to be able to throw the ball. Now, I hope he improves, but RG3 is a backup. When you trade Joe Flacco, you're saying, Lamar Jackson, we believe in you. Here are the keys to the team. Let's go.
I think I don't know about the end of the season, but I think there's about a 70% chance that RG3 is going to start at some point during the season, whether that's long-term starter or whether that's just a few games while Lamar Jackson is hurt. Here's what I know. Remember when everybody ran the Wildcat and it was, all the rage, and Miami Dolphins unleashed it on the New England Patriots and rushed for about 300 yards and everybody had to put Wildcat in. And then you know what happened? Defensive coordinators went to the college games, said, how do we defend this? Help us out. Now nobody runs Wildcat anymore. They took the league by storm. They ran things last year when I did a Baltimore game that I was like, oh my Lord, I've never seen anything like this. They were getting extra people onside, and it was 6-on-4, it was 7-on, it was 7-on-5 on the front side. The way they ran the ball, they got number matchups through what they were doing that people were not prepared for. And they ran the snot out of the ball. It was incredible to watch. But guess what? The league adjusts. The league will figure that out. Lamar Jackson, from a throwing of the football standpoint, is subpar. He is not, and I don't see him, you can improve to some degree, but to make that drastic improvement, I just don't know that you're going to be able to do that.
He's going to face 8 in the box. So reading coverage that's not going to come into play for him. You know you're going to get 8 in the box. It's going to be single high, it's going to be cover 3 or cover 1. Your receivers have to win, and or your tight end. The reads are going to be very simplistic. They're going to be very defined. It's not going to be that hard. You just have to make some throws, 4 to 6 throws per game in tight windows.
Yeah, that's the issue.
But
size
as an NFL quarterback, you have to do it.
Right. But I'm telling you, and he's made some dimes. He's made some great throws.
That throw he made against the Chargers was a dime.
Right. And then you watch him get a all-go special where the tight end is coming across the field and he dumps it in his feet, and it's a wide-open touchdown. It's the inconsistency of throws that you have an issue with.
TJ Houshmandzadeh and Mark Schlereth are back with me. Uncle Jimmy's also here with his thoughts on the day. Any early thoughts here before we get into this approval rating?
Man, let's go on and get to it. Let's get this big dummy of the day knocked out. All right, the big dummy of the day gonna go to whoever in the hell had the Darnell segment question of the day and asked what was the secret to a happy marriage and didn't include Uncle Jimmy in that conversation. Y'all wasted all that time. I could have done it in one word. Secret to a happy marriage, divorce. Bam, done. Y'all wasted all that time. Come on, man, that's a dummy.
All right, here's a highlight from our discussion earlier about Ben Roethlisberger. All these black players are talking bad about poor little Benny. No dice. I've loved Ben Roethlisberger since he was a star in the Mid-American Conference. He brought all this on himself.
I'm a receiver. I want Ben Roethlisberger to be my quarterback.
One time, Jerome Bettis told me, if everywhere you go it smells like poop, it just might be you. Right? The True story.
All right, Uncle Jimmy, we had a good conversation about Big Ben. What's your take?
Nephew, got to give you credit. Excellent Whitlock today.
Oh,
You my sister's child, made me proud.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, but don't get it twisted. The Uncle Jimmy log is still better than Whitlock any day of the week and twice on Sunday, all right? So don't get it twisted.
Oh, boy. All right, what you got, big dog, then? Let's hear it.
All right, here we go. Big Ben is Tony Soprano. All right, Mark, Hoochman daughter, all right? Y'all watch The Sopranos?
What'd you call him? Hoochman.
Hoochman daughter. All right. Y'all watch The Sopranos?
Yeah.
Great show, all right? One of my favorites, one of the best of all times. You know, all right, now you got Big Ben and Tony Soprano, right? All right, peep game on this. Tony killed damn near everybody close to him. Same as Ben. It's just the nature of the position. It's not really a lot of differences between a mob boss and an NFL quarterback, if you follow me. Huh? You got to kill people close to you.
That's not true. What about Tom Brady?
Man, Brady done killed more wide receivers than anybody in quarterback, they done killed more wide receivers than anybody in history, in quarterback history. Randy Moss, Deion Branch, Danny Amendola, Wes Welker, Troy Brown, Irving Fryer. Hell, Ted Johnson couldn't even get out the womb. Tell him, Hoochman daughter. Am I lying? Hey, did Tom Brady not turn Ocho Cinco into Ocho Hell No? Huh?
Hoochman daughter, you got.
Nah, it wasn't Brady.
Come on.
That wasn't Brady's fault.
Get back to Big Ben. Get back to Big Ben.
Real talk, bro. Tony, Ben, natural born killers. Tony killed Christopher. Hey, bro, Christopher was like a son to Tony, remember? You know, Tony, you know, he smothered him. Tony Blondetto. That was Tony's cousin. Took a shotgun and blew his face off. Tony's best friend, big pussy. Took him out on a boat, shot him in the head, threw him overboard. That's all Big Ben doing, one by one. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Haley. All of them, collateral damage. It's just the cost of doing business with Big Ben. And hey, guys, let's be honest. This is the life that they chose. Le'Veon and AB, hey, Hoochman daughter, they out here in these streets snitching. I ain't with that. So I don't like that.
You on Ben's side, huh? You.
Listen, y'all, real talk. Big Ben gonna get his. No different than Tony. Watch this, mark my words. Mike Tomlin, Juju, they gonna take Big Ben to his favorite hole-in-the-wall restaurant. Hey, don't stop believing, gonna be playing in the background. You know, all of a sudden, Khalil Mack and J.J. Mack gonna come out in a members-only jacket and a ski mask. Bam! Screen gonna go dark. Big Ben gonna be dead. It's just the product of doing business. It's the life he chose. Rest in peace.
You know what? That would have been a good Whitlock, man. You're getting pretty good at these. But let's get to TJ and Mark's approval rating. I had Big Ben at a 49 yesterday. These guys love Big Ben. Schlereth has him at a 70, 20 job performance, 22 all-time greatness, 10 character, and 18 authenticity. Big Ben's in the damn near a dumpster fire right now, Mark. You grading way too easy. And TJ, you're not much better. What?
I mean,
Job
is he
performance.
going to is he going to go to the Hall of Fame when he's done?
Yeah, we're not talking about when he's done. We're talking about right now. So how could you have him at a 60?
role
The
player?
last time we seen him on the field, his job performance was actually pretty good.
What? They were out of the playoffs. They were terrible this
But
year.
his job, all-time greatness, pretty good. Now, his authenticity and his character, questionable.
Character, authenticity is who he is. You're going to be a turd, you're going to be a turd. That's
Was it before or
authentic.
after
Has he
Ben
always
retire?
been a turd?
Yeah.
66. These guys are way too
Crazy.
high.